I bet a lot of you saw the Mario vs. Donkey Kong demo drop late last night on Nintendo Switch eShop and thought, the Direct is in peril. The Direct is in jeopardy of not happening because Nintendo has made a bunch of announcements. They got these different music fests coming up. They announced Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC for late February. They just brought a brand new demo for an upcoming game to the eShop. All things that seemingly would be announced at a Nintendo Direct. But fear not, my faithful Nintendo loyalists, we have a Direct. I would bet my blue hair on it, and we now have our first great rumors and leaks on when this Direct is taking place, and it is heating up fast because the Direct is probably in 6 days or less. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce, doing things out of order here. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. But Nintendo is not doing things out of order. Yes, they have been announcing a lot of updates and reveals on Twitter as of late, but this is par for the course, especially when Nintendo may be prepping for their last full Nintendo Switch Direct. Like, really take that in. The last Direct dedicated to a system that has been insanely successful and brought Nintendo to the pinnacle of probably where they've ever been. This would culminate 7 years of awesome game development and game reveals, and it could be the big final Direct that reveals Metroid Prime 4 amongst other awesome games, fan favorites like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door getting a release date, and maybe even another demo for a game like Princess Peach Showtime, and that's why Mario vs. DK was announced last night. Now, what the new information here is today is that Special Nick, who is a Xbox typically reporter slash leaker slash commentator, has been going around saying that the Direct is next Wednesday. He's been posting in different people's live streams and chats, most importantly in Jeff Grubb's podcast. Y'all know Jeff Grubb. He himself has not said when the Direct would be, but Special Nick commented in the chat during Jeff Grubb's live stream saying Jeff's Game Mess Direct will be next. Now, if we're honest, not too crazy of a prediction because the last 2 years, Nintendo has had their February Direct on the first full Wednesday of February. And by full, I mean a full week of February. There's no tail end of January hanging on at the beginning of the calendar. It's just February. In 2022, it was February 9th. In 2023, it was February 8th. And in 2024, it probably is going to be February 7th. That is next Wednesday. That is less than 6 days away, and that would be freaking awesome. It would set the stage for the first half of the year for Nintendo, and like I mentioned, probably be the last hurrah for Nintendo Switch 1 games before Nintendo is ready to divulge on their next system. Now, also remember that the Zelda Orchestra and the Splatoon live stream music fest are taking place next week as well. So they do have some things all kind of lined up, and February 7th is a day where we know they love to do it because it's a Wednesday, it's early in February, and it leads up preceding these other awesome events. I've seen some people suggest like maybe we're just crazy and there is no Direct. We do know that Nintendo has another investors call early next week. I think that's another reason you can believe and buy into a Direct. Nintendo does often like to tie these things sort of together because it's their chance to answer questions for investors, lay down the yellow brick road going forward for investors and say, hey, we got lots of things coming. And oh yeah, Metroid Prime 4, which has been on our investor sheet of upcoming games with unannounced release dates, finally has a release date. I think it's just imminent. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the big focal point of this Direct, and I think it's going to be the big focal point of the year until we get Nintendo Switch 2. Now, also remember that February is important for Nintendo because we know that there are heavy rumors that Nintendo is going to reveal the Switch 2 in March. You definitely don't want to have a Nintendo Switch 1 Direct and a Nintendo Switch 2 reveal too close together. In fact, you'd like to give them a good chunk of space so that players can feel confident that Switch 1 is still going to be supported. Players can pre-order and buy these Switch 1 titles, and then players can see what the difference is and why Switch 2 might be a good investment for them. I fully believe that Metroid Prime 4 will be a centerpiece title that helps highlight the differences between Switch 1 and Switch 2, so it makes sense for them to announce it at the Switch 1 Direct and then showcase it looking even snazzier and detail the upgrades and improvements for the Switch 2 version. Next Wednesday would be an awesome time to include shadow drops, new demos, and like I said, release dates for games like Luigi's Mansion 2, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and whatever else is releasing in the first half of the year, plus something big for the second half. Nintendo's February Direct is where they do like to tease their huge holiday release. Now, they haven't done that exactly every year. I believe last year was the first time that they kind of omitted a big game for the fall. Mario Bros. Wonder was eventually announced, but it wasn't part of the February Direct. Now, will they do that again or will they go back? I think a lot of it depends on when Metroid Prime 4 comes out. If Metroid Prime 4 is indeed a summer title, then I don't think we get anything for the fall because that would be saved for the Switch 2 reveal. But if Metroid Prime 4 is indeed a fall release sometime in, say, November, then that would be sort of your big ta-da, look forward to the holiday season 2024, Nintendo ain't quitting. And I don't think this year is going to be light. I don't think this year is going to be slight. I don't think we're going to be low on releases. I feel like we are going to get remakes and remasters plus new titles. Maybe quirkier titles like Princess Peach Showtime. I don't know if Donkey Kong fits in the quirky bin, but I do think it's something that could appear as either a cross-gen title or a last hurrah on Nintendo Switch 1. And here's my thinking on that. If Donkey Kong Next is a 2D platformer, how much better can that really look given a Switch 2 release? If backwards compatibility is handled well, it should play on Switch 2, but you don't really need to wait till Switch 2 to drop that. You can expose it to the 130 million Switch owners and still leave it as a great pickup for gamers who get everything on Switch 2 and are done with 3D Mario and Metroid Prime 4. If DK is going to be a 3D, open world, big evolution type game, then I do think they would save it for Switch 2. But I feel like Switch 1 is going to go out with a bang. And I want to draw your attention to last year when a bunch of reporters were saying, Zelda is the last Switch game. It's done. The second half of the year is empty. Well, that surely wasn't the case. And now the first half of the next year isn't empty, and I don't think the second half of this year will be empty either. I think Nintendo has a lot to talk about at the next Direct, and that's why you're seeing so many games and announcements be dropped early on Twitter. Things like Splatoon 3 Side Order are coming at you from past Directs. They're matters that need to be resolved. The Mario vs. Donkey Kong demo is tied to a past Direct and needs to be resolved. Now, Princess Peach Showtime might get another segment at the Direct, given that it is sort of a big, newer title that maybe deserves more explanation than something like Mario vs. DK. But I also could see Nintendo, if they do use the February 7th date, just peppering in Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Princess Peach Showtime in a sizzle reel highlighting the games to come. Or maybe they'll do one of those release calendar things where they kind of just indicate every game from first and major third party that's coming out soon, and that is sort of the reel that they use to close out the Direct before the one more thing. But we have history on our side. Nintendo has done February Directs almost every single year. They've utilized the first full week in February. They like to use Wednesday, and now we have Special Nick. I would say he's not a Zippo who I don't know if you can trust anything they say. They've been right and wrong equal amounts of times. Also not a Pioro who's been right 100% of the time. And maybe not even a Jeff Grubb who's been right 80% of the time. I would say Special Nick is right more like 65-70% of the time. So there is some leeway here that this could move. But I feel like we're going to start hearing more and more, and maybe even the little bird Pioro will pop up with some exciting indicators of what to expect at the next Direct. I do feel like this is going to be a bigger show than people are anticipating, especially with all the recent reveals on Twitter. That does not indicate that Nintendo does not have stuff to say. In fact, it probably indicates that Nintendo has more than you think. So let me know if you're pumped. Maybe start marking off next Wednesday, February 7th, for you to have some time to focus in. We'll, of course, stream it as soon as the time is officially announced. If it's to be next week, I'll stream it. Whenever it is, we'll have a party together, and we will watch this thing unfold and see what Nintendo has to deliver for the first half of 2024. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Thanks again for watching. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.